When planning a vacation, the thought of laying on a beach somewhere is pretty hard to ignore. But there's a type of travel that gives you something more while giving back to local communities. Travel host Tabitha Lipkin has all the details.
Have you ever heard the term community tourism before? Well, prior to my 3 weeks in Peru, I wasn't exactly sure what that meant. But as Planetera's president Jamie Sweeney explains, it's a deeper way to connect with people who live in a place that you're visiting.
Well, I think it's really for us about working with these small, often rural, sometimes urban communities to show their history, their culture, their nature, their way. And that allows travelers to be able to interact with people on an even setting. And that really, it could be life-changing both for the traveler and for the host.
Peru is a great example of a country that has been changed by community tourism, and a country that hosted over 350 people from all over the world to learn more about how tourism affects communities both in positive and negative ways. At the very first ever World Community Tourism Summit hosted by G Adventures and Planetera. Jessica Nabongo was a speaker at the summit, sharing her lessons from being the first Black woman to travel to every country in the world.
I would say the two most important lessons that I've learned from visiting every country in the world is, number one, most people are good. And it's funny because when I say that, people are like, but I'm like, no, think about it. In your everyday life, how often do you really have a negative experience with someone? It's not something that happens daily. So definitely most people are good. The kindness of strangers really powered my journey. And then I would say we are more similar than we are different. I think if we can just get back to our humanity and realizing it doesn't matter your religion, your age, your gender identity, sexual orientation. We're all just people trying to do our best.
When you think about tourism here in Peru, this is probably what you think about, right? Machu Picchu, one of the 7 wonders of the world. But the community here in Peru has so much more to offer. The area of Sacred Valley in Peru is a great example of how community tourism changed the lives of people living there. Decades ago, tours would just pass by communities on their way to Machu Picchu, forcing many people to leave their homes in order to find work in more active places where tourism was present. But with community tourism projects, tourists are now introduced to the history and the culture of those living in the Sacred Valley right in their own communities. From learning traditional weaving techniques to helping protect some of the over 3,000 types of potatoes grown in Peru.
We're allowing people to help themselves. We're giving them a hand up, not a hand out. And ultimately, what I've seen doing over 100 of these projects in some 68 different countries is just seeing the pride these people have, the confidence, the growth, the fact that it changes the dynamic between men and women in their communities. And I just feel incredibly honored and blessed, and you know, how lucky am I to do that for a living.
What we do is actually to change people's life. You know, we want to make just such a beautiful experience here for travelers. And I want to say, like, most of the Peruvians, we are like this. We are like super friendly people.
And if you're wondering what the future of travel looks like, well, Jessica has some thoughts on that.
I'm excited for on-the-ground experiences. I think what we're seeing is that people care more about local communities. People care more about getting to know locals when they're visiting, and care more about being a good traveler and leaving a positive impact on those communities.
Next time you visit Peru or anywhere else in the world, go ahead, look into any community tourism projects. That actually might lead you into some hands-on experience learning from the locals.